So welcome back to the Dadskillz car channel and what could be the final video on Denis, my Type R Honda Civic FN2. So if you're new to the channel, there are loads and loads of videos on Denis. There's a playlist there with all the mechanical work and bodywork stuff we've done to him. Go and take a look after this video. So at this point, I must say a massive thanks actually to Matt from Furious Driving, who took Denis out for a spin and he made a video about his experiences with him. Go and take a look. Matt was insightful as ever, so thank you, Matt, for that. And if you're here because of that video, thank you for watching. But without any further ado, let's get out in Denis and we'll have a little chat about him. I thought I'd take us on a little drive round and just talk through a few of the reasons why Denis has to go. So I think I'm going to break it down into good, neutral and bad. And I think we'll start with the good. And there really is only one place we can start when we talk about a Type R Honda, and that's that K20 engine. Absolute legendary, infinitely tunable. Pull it out of this car, put it in any other car. What a fantastic engine. Now, a few little things on the engine. I did see, I think it was JM on Cars, talk about that it was more akin to a motorbike engine. And I can absolutely see that. People whinge about the torque from these engines, but I've not found it to be an issue, really. I can be doing 30 miles an hour in 6th gear and you put your foot down and it picks up as reasonable as you'd hope. So I've not really found the torque to be an issue. I've also seen someone describe the K20 as just a massive air pump. The more you can get in, the more you can get out, the more brake horsepower you can get out of it. So it's an awesome engine. We know that anyway, don't we? Other things I love about the car, the styling. I really like the styling. Inside and out. Sometimes the arse end can look a bit thick from certain angles, but I think that would be sorted with a Mugen spoiler on the back. If I was going to keep this, that's one of the things I would do. A big spoiler on the back, carbon fibre bonnet, and then maybe the sticky out carbon fibre wings as well. They look pretty cool. The dash area, yeah, I like the dash area. Even though there are 3 very different displays on there, they do look a bit odd all put together, but I think they just about work. So, things that I'm neutral on, which we're going to experience, and we just experienced then. The first one is the suspension. It's very hard. Now, that's not a problem. We can let it off that because it's, you know, it's a track-based exercise, isn't it, really, this car? So if your back is of a weak disposition, you might want to look at something else, but I doubt you'd need to do much to the suspension if you were going to track day it. So yeah, very bouncy. Certainly chip your teeth, but that's neutral. We can cope with that. Another neutral on this car is the expense of it. These cars are probably the cheapest they're going to be to buy them, but to run them, they're not that cheap. And you've got to look after them. You've got to keep checking that engine oil because they do use engine oil. That's a negative. So what I would say, if you're a younger driver, the insurance is going to be sky high. And you're going to use a lot of petrol. I've been getting like 24 miles to the gallon, which, you know, that's just pootling around with the odd occasion of flare. I think if you were on it all the time, then your petrol consumption would be quite high, thus more expensive. But that's a neutral because, you know, it's a Type R. What are you going to do? You bought it knowing and wanting a Type R. So, things I really dislike about this car. It's little things. It's things that when you first get in this car and you think this is a car I'm happy to keep forever. and then after a moment or so you remember all the things that made you annoyed. So we'll start wherever. We'll start with the seat. Seats are great. I can never quite get it where I want it. They look great, but I can never quite get it where I want it. And if you're driving somewhere long distances, it numbs my leg, my clutch leg. And the seat is on its lowest setting. This is as low as it will go. And I'm not a tall guy, but I feel like I'm up in the rafters, up in the ceiling. And I can't get the steering wheel to go up anymore. So I'm as low as I can go. Steering wheel is as high as it can go. And I'm missing the top of the rev counter. I can't see it because the steering wheel's in the way. It's something that would just be solved with the seat being lower. It's pretty annoying. Also, from the driver's seat, this great big A-pillar, well annoying. It's like 8 or 9 inches thick, with the wind deflector on the window as well. It's annoying anyway when you're going round a roundabout and you're on the level, as it were. But if you're on a hill and you're coming down to a T-junction, you're looking straight up through the roof, and you have to duck down because you can't see anything. That's particularly annoying. Another dislike, exhaust. Now, from the research I've done when I changed the exhaust on this, you can either get an exhaust that sounds raspy, or you can get an exhaust that is just plain loud. And I didn't like either of those. I like a bit of burble and a bit of nuance and that sort of thing. So in the end, I went back to the standard exhaust because I had to change it. You saw the big hole that was in it. So I went standard. So engine note and exhaust is something that I dislike as well. One more negative while I'm sat here driving, and that is I can never get the windscreen to demist as much as I'd like it to. Sometimes it'll do it, and other times you can be on the same setting and it won't touch it. But I've tried all sorts of settings, I just can't get it to demist as much as I'd like. Gearbox took a bit of getting used to, and it still does. But we'll have a little look at the paperwork back in the office. And I think the clutch should be okay because it was changed in 2020, 4 years ago. And that leads me then to sum up this car, and maybe the biggest reason why I'm moving it on. This car was never a hero for me, but I wanted it to be. And it's just missed slightly because the experience of driving in the car gets in the way of the engine. All the little bits add up to, I can't enjoy the engine as much as I'd like to. I know there's possibly going to be some people who disagree wildly with that, and that's because they're enthusiasts, and that leads me to the next thing. This is an enthusiast car. This is someone's hero, maybe a stepping stone hero if you like, onto bigger and faster cars. So for me and my fleet, you've seen my fleet, haven't you? They get used and abused, looked after mechanically, but they're very rarely washed. And when I went to take pictures of this for the previous video, I parked it in a puddle, we took off and we got mud all over the place. That's not the sort of person who needs to own this car. This needs to be owned by an enthusiast who looks after it, cherishes it, continues the work on it. And in that respect, if you think realistically this car is only going to go for what I bought it for, it's going to be £3,000, isn't it? Hopefully, if I'm lucky. And for that, a usable project that you can lavish a bit of attention on when you can afford it, that's not a bad price for a rolling project, is it really? So what do I want instead? What's going to happen when I sell Denis? Well, I'm open to cash and swaps. So really what I'm after is a 1.3 K11 Micro, manual, 3-door, because they're starting to lower the age of which you can do auto tests. So that would be a perfect auto test car. And then Arthur could actually come along and use that next season. So that's what I'm after. And what's that going to cost me? About £1,000 probably. So a Micra and £2,000 will get you this car if you've got a Micra. I'm open to other projects, a sort of Tasty Classics type project that could be turned around, put back on the road and then sold. But I need the room on my drive, and I haven't got the room for a project and a Micra. So Micra is the thing I'm really hankering after at the moment. Thought we'd come back to the office and have a quick look at the paperwork that came with this car. So, when I bought the car, I did a car vertical report, which I can't see again because it says it's expired and you have to buy a new one, so I'm not going to do that for 20 odd quid, but you're more than welcome to do that. It was written off in something like 2013, and you can see the repair in the paint. It was the rear quarter, so it was written off and fixed. We have an MOT certificate. I MOT'd this on the 22nd of August. This is the MOT sheet. Pause it there for the info, but I will tell you. Repair, so it passed, but it's got minor defects. So it has track rod end bowl dust cover, and that's both sides. That's the two at the top there. And then monitor and repair if necessary. Service brake binding but not excessive near side. Service brake fluctuating but not excessive near side. Tyre worn close to legal limit near side rear, and tyre slightly damaged offside rear, small cuts in sidewall. If I was to keep this car, mechanically wise, I would personally, it needs pads on the back, but I would replace the calipers too, because they're odd colours, because one is yellow and one is red or not painted or something, I can't remember now. Pads need replacing. I would replace the calipers because they're grotty, and tyres, well, you're going to replace tyres anyway, aren't you, at some point. We have a nice Honda folder, plasticky leather look thing. We have all the books, so we've got handbook, dealer list, blah blah blah, navigation system, and then we have the service book. And in the service book, starts at like, oh yeah, no, it's 09, that's fine. Yeah, so service history, we have from 09, so its first service when it was new, and we go through all the way to a stamp in 2020. So that leads us to some interesting bits and pieces on servicing. There are general oil filter, pollen filters, all those sort of things in there. Then we get to November 2020. We have timing chain kit fit for Honda Civic, water pump Honda Civic, aluminium radiator and labour. So they've done the timing chain in 2020. That's cool. Then we've got another, just a general service in 2022. We're interested in that one. This is the interesting one. Clutch kit for that car was done in Lincolnshire in 2021. So it's not 4 years, it's 3 years ago. It had a new clutch put in. So that's good, isn't it? Throughout the past, people have spent a bit of money on it, even though they've not outwardly looked to have looked after it massively well. So there we go. That's possibly the last time we're ever going to see Dennis on this channel. I will keep you updated as to what happens with him. But let me know. Am I making the right decision? Is it a future classic? Have you got a Micra that you want to swap me? Let me know. So as ever, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. Thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for being there. Your support is greatly appreciated. And I think we'll end the video today with a nice montage of shots of Denis that Arthur edited, which is pretty cool. Take a look.